The Dirty Dogs. Here we go. This is our segment. This is actually one of my favorite segments. We, meaning CD and I, pick four underdogs, some dogs that have to have a point spread of greater than 10. All right, we are hitting 25% on the year. Okay. Which, by the way, has made you some really nice money this year if you did tail. These aren't necessarily bettable games for us. This is just more of an exercise. Like we aren't necessarily sprinkling every single one of these. All right. So we're not saying you should tail these at all. But this is a fun exercise that we like doing. We are 3 for 6 on the year. I'm sorry, 3 for 12 on the years. That's about right. 3 weeks, 4. Yep. So last week we hit nice with Toledo plus 360. I think we got some really smelly ones today. Really smelly ones. Nothing under plus 320. So that's what we'd like to see. I'll go first. My first dirty dog. James Madison plus 320. I don't feel great about this one. Here's why. James Madison hasn't looked fantastic this season. But I also think that North Carolina stinks. All right. You get a team, James Madison, that is adept at playing up to the level of competition. You got a team like North Carolina that is very good at playing down to their competition. Who's going to play quarterback for North Carolina? I don't know. I have zero clue. What's his face? I'm going to call him what's his face. Came in and looked pretty decent last week against NC Central or whoever they played. What's his face playing against whoever, right? Not sure if Connor Harrell's going to be there or not. To me, it doesn't matter. But if he is, so be it. I kind of like James Madison in this spot. Just give me them. I have them winning the Sun Belt. Actually, still feel pretty decent about that, given what we've seen from the Sun Belt so far. But I know that there was a lot of moving pieces from last year. Kurt Cignetti leaving off to Indiana, who looks great, by the way, over there. And I think JMU can do this. I think they can. I don't feel great about it. I feel better about my other one. But at plus 320, I'm looking at James Madison potentially upsetting North Carolina.
No, listen, I don't hate that at all. I watched UNC in person and they just were not impressive. And I don't think they have really been since. Moving on to my first one, we're going to head over. We have a Power 5 team, Power 4 team going on the road to Group of Five. That is never a good sight at
Uh-oh.
all. Duke on the road to Middle Tennessee State. By the way, I did
Wow.
go against Duke last week and
Almost. It
it
almost
almost
hit.
cashed at a big time number, by the way. UConn,
It's
Duke had
plus
to come from
610.
behind.
It was plus 610.
Duke, that's 2 straight weeks, by the way. Duke has had to come from behind and get wins. Right, Northwestern a couple weeks ago and UConn last week. It's coming. It is coming, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, our Blue Devil fans. I am so sorry. But listen, Mid Tennessee State has a quarterback, by the way, Nicholas
Yeah.
Vadiato, who is a dog, and he was good last year, by the way. Right,
Yeah, he was
very
fine.
good last year.
For what he had around him. Absolutely.
Yeah, 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 13
Brand new
interceptions.
coach over there, Middle Tennessee, Derek Mason.
Derek
Who I
Mason,
mean,
who's a good football coach, has had success
I think he's
in the middle of the state.
polarizing. I think he's a polarizing coach, but I think he could be good for that spot.
What I trust him in games against Power 4 teams. And by the way, they have not looked good, right? At Tennessee State. I think that's where the value comes from. Obviously, they struggled against Tennessee Tech. Ole Miss buried them. Which, by the way, Lane Kiffin does that to anyone that's not good or
Yeah.
not like an elite football team, right? And then Western Kentucky last week. Western Kentucky team, by the way, who is in a really, really tight point spread against Toledo team that just buried an SEC team,
Mississippi.
Mississippi
By the
State,
way,
who
Mississippi State would be favored maybe against Duke. Maybe. Could be close.
yeah,
I
they
don't
should
know.
be. They should be. If
Actually,
they weren't, that would be
before last week, they would have been for sure.
for sure. And listen, we'll see. But I do love that Tennessee State is at home. I think the crowd's gonna be awesome. I think Duke, not that they're overlooking this game, but next week is North Carolina week. And I know it's not basketball season, but damn it, if that doesn't mean something, I think it does. So let's go. Give me the Blue Raiders over the Blue Devils.
That is a dirty dog. Dare I say stinky.
I think
Here's a
plus
stinker.
450.
Plus 450. Here's a stinker at plus 500. All right, let's go over to Mountain West. New Mexico. Just waiting for their first win. Just waiting. They play a Fresno State team whomst Sacramento State lit up offensively. All right. you don't think New Mexico can do the same thing, if not more, then you're wrong. Okay. Now, Fresno State has an opportunity here. They could just run the ball, right, and try to control this game. But New Mexico is just a frisky team at plus 500. What are we talking about? I like this New Mexico team. When I say I like Dampier at quarterback. That dude is an absolutely electric factory.
And they got the wide receiver is awesome too.
Yeah,
I forget his name, but he's really awesome too.
dude, and just at plus 500. You're telling me that I like them in this spot. Bronco Mendenhall is a guy that we talked about was probably one of, if not the best coaching hires of the entire offseason in terms of fit, right? Going back to New Mexico where he was before, just being a really good coach. Yeah, it didn't work out in Virginia. I don't care. Here it is. He's putting in work at New Mexico. I like what they have. New Mexico at a smelly plus 500. Let's ride.
Listen, I love that. New Mexico is a dangerous football team in terms of they're going to give you a sweat, and it's eventually they're going to break through. I love that pick there. I've got another one, and we're going to go here to the Power Four in the ACC. Louisville is, I believe, 10.5 point favorites over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech plus 320. And listen, I know Georgia Tech lost a couple weeks ago against Syracuse, but maybe Syracuse is pretty darn good. And here's what I'll say this. Tom McCord is playing unbelievable. And I know every coach who's ever touched Tyler Shuck just loves him. Just loves him. And listen, they might be right. He's healthy, right? It might be all good for Louisville, but damn it though. Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, Kejan Brown, like these guys, they haven't been tested, right? They've been playing just awful football teams. Austin, PA, Jacksonville State, terrible, terrible football teams. This will be a big time step up in competition. And by the way, another spot here for a look ahead game. Notre Dame is next week for Louisville, and they want that one bad again, like last year, to get a win there. I don't know, man. Georgia Tech, first of all, is a team that could lose by 20 or win by 15 in this game. I really think so. Just how volatile they are, how explosive they are running the football. Haynes King, if he's taking care of the football, if they are getting separation for Eric Singleton and hitting him in stride, I absolutely love that for them. Georgia Tech here. Again, a team I felt pretty good about early in the year, right? We saw what they did to Florida State. They've been really impressive in every game. That's not the Syracuse game. And by the way, they still fought back on the road in that game too. And maybe Syracuse is just really good. Give me Georgia Tech plus 350, 320, excuse me, to beat Louisville.
I love that. Let me add on to that schedule dynamic as well. Get Louisville playing two terrible teams, and then they have a bye before this game. And you know what you might be saying? Okay, they got a bye. They got an extra week to prepare for Georgia Tech. Or they have Georgia Tech is a physical football team. All right, we've established that. But are they going to get punched in the mouth here? And are they going to have to get up off the mat? Is Louisville going to have to get up off the mat in this first quarter like they did, by the way, last year in the same spot? Louisville miraculously had a couple gigantically explosive runs that put them back in this football game after Haynes King absolutely decimated their defense in this opener. Decimated. So I like Buster Faulkner in this spot big time.
Last thing I'll say real quick is that, listen, I do like Ja'Cory Brooks, and I love to see him playing well. But outside of that, right, we know they had the injury to Colin Lacey. Do you have guys that can really take advantage of maybe a vulnerable secondary for Georgia Tech? I don't quite know. And secondly, too, we have seen this time and time again, Jeff Brom is really good in big-time games. And I'm not going to compare him quite to the guy down there in Auburn, right? Where Hugh Freeze, where he can blow any game you play. Marcus, he can blow any game you play. But there are times where this Jeff Brom teams have looked unprepared for football games, and this might be one of them. And first of all, I don't think Georgia Tech needs that too. I think they're talented and good enough, physical enough to just outright win. But again, all kind of things that I think add value to this, and it could be a sneaky one for Georgia Tech.